When I first bought this LabRadar, I was ready to either smash it, sell it, or send it back. And with a few minor upgrades, it went from that to one of my favorite, most productive, useful, reliable pieces of equipment that I own, and I use it all the time. So I want to share those upgrades with you, show you what I did to this to make it so much more reliable and user-friendly, and hopefully save you some of the frustration that I had to go through. So let's get into it. All right, folks, so let's talk about the first kind of upgrade or modification you need to make to this to make it so much more user-friendly and less frustrating. So when you buy a LabRadar, it comes with this battery compartment. You got 6 AA's in there. You know, these AA's just don't last very long and they're constantly going dead. It's just a real pain. So the first thing that I did, and you need to do too, is make sure that you get yourself a little battery pack just like this. You can get it for like 20 bucks. And I can tell you right now, I ran this particular battery pack and I think it's a 15 milliamp hour or something like that. Ran this radar all day long without batteries last weekend. And I used 1 out of the 4 bars, so like 25% of the battery. So what I do with a lot of my equipment that I need auxiliary power is I put the hook portion of a Velcro, industrial Velcro, on that piece of equipment. It's on all my tripods that I use for cameras, lights, and all those stuff. But I put a strip right here, and it's a perfect width for a 1-inch strip right there. And then of course I have the loop portion of that on the battery pack itself. So it's always right there. I just push it just like that, and it just makes life a lot easier. The other problem that you're gonna run into, or I did, and this is literally why I almost threw this thing away, and I actually didn't use this for almost 2 years. I purchased this. My use is a little bit different. We run a long range school. We do mid to long range carbine courses. So my intention with this originally, because I already had a magneto speed, was I thought this would be a great platform to run multiple student guns through so that we can get some quick muzzle velocity data so that they can use on the range or take that home with them with good information. And that is one of the primary or best features of this, is that this isn't hooked to one rifle, so you can run multiple guns through this pretty quickly. The problem is the normal stand that it comes on, or a little tripod that you get that a lot of people get, folks, it's hard to figure out the right distance from that gun. And if the distance isn't set correctly, you can run into some issues to where you're missing lots of shots and you're not getting good data on those shots. So between the settings in the LabRadar and making sure that you have the exact right distance so that this is picking up the shot, it can be really frustrating because you're gonna miss lots of different shots. Folks, the absolute best purchase I made with this LabRadar to dramatically decrease missed shots was this quad pod. And I'm gonna set this up over there. I'll bring the camera over there and I'll show you how this works and how this allows me to run multiple guns, multiple calibers through this LabRadar and almost never miss a shot using this system. So let's go do that. All right, so a little bit of this is personal preference and just how I end up running all my gear. All my cameras and all my guns are pretty much running ARCA rails. And of course, even like my FatBoy Tripods and things like that, they have ARCA rails. So sometimes I'm running cameras on there. I've actually ran the LabRadar on my FatBoy Tripods. If you haven't seen a video on those, I'll put a link up there. You need to go check those out for a shooting tripod and their heads. There's literally nothing better. I don't care if you're talking about really right stuff, Manfrotto, any of that stuff. FatBoy Tripods, the best tripods out there. Anyways, so all my cameras and all of my gun gear are running ARCA rails. So one of the first things you need to do is make sure that you go buy yourself an ARCA rail mount for your LabRadar. It's just a much better mount. They're more solid. They have a little bit more surface area. Now here's the actual bog pod itself. And by the way, folks, we are a LabRadar dealer. So if you're interested in these products, make sure you go to ParamountTactical.com. We'd really appreciate it if you purchase from us. You know, it really supports the channel. And we bring these products to you to educate you and shoot these videos to educate you. But there again, if you buy from us, it really does help us out as well. And we'd appreciate that. So anyways, this is the bog pod itself. And it comes with this metal piece. And I don't remember if it came with a ball head or not. I kind of want to say that it came with a cheaper one. I would spend the money and get yourself something like a small rig. It's just a little bit more robust. But most importantly, I wanted a ball head that accepted that ARCA Rail. So that's what this is. So I upgraded to that, but that's what it looks like right there. But you know, adding an upgraded ball head that works a little bit, that's just more user-friendly, as well as those ARCA mounts, just makes things easier. And again, some of you may not require that. Again, I'm throwing equipment around all the time. I need things that are more robust. I'm switching out shooters in between those. You may not need that. It just makes using it so much easier and set up and take down so much easier. So that's what I would recommend, and that's what I did. All right, so another thing that you need to be aware of, or if you already own this, some frustration that you might be having with this that will cause you to miss lots of shots, is the fact that you got to aim this correctly, right? To a surprisingly high degree of accuracy, making sure that this is pointed in the right direction so that it's picking up the ballistic trajectory of your round. And the way that they have this set up is there's a little slit in here. And I know, probably like you, I thought, well, that's gonna be good enough. And you just kind of aim that. Folks, it's not. You gotta have an additional sight on there. Now, what I've been using is this rod guide out of a bore guide for cleaning, and I set that up there, and then you use that as a really good sight. You can also use, a hollowed out, Bic pin or something like that. Those are all options. The problem is they fall off, or I've actually had them to where they're not actually sitting right on that notch. And again, I get down there, I start shooting, I realize I'm missing shots, and you experience all this frustration. I have it coming in the mail. I don't have it right now, but from MK Machining, and I'll put a picture of it and also a link down below. I'm not affiliated with them, but they actually make an integrated peep sight. You actually take this bolt out, you put the sight on there, it has a little peep sight, and then you replace that bolt. So now you have it integrated onto this, and it's always ready to go. You're not looking around the truck for a pin, or if you forgot this or you lost this. All right, folks, so I actually delayed publishing this video for a few days because I was waiting for this MK Machining LabRadar sight to come in. I think it was that important. I think it's that cool. And I think it's a much needed and super helpful addition to your LabRadar. And I got my little helper here. Noah's here. We haven't had him in a video for a while, so now he's gonna help me out today. So I'm gonna show you this device, and then Noah is gonna actually install this for us because he is a mechanical mastermind. Isn't that right? Mm-hmm. All right, so this is the device, folks. Looks just like this. And you can see right here on the back, it has a protrusion that's gonna fit perfectly with this notch. And then of course the screw hole is gonna fit right in there. So it's gonna sit and basically be an integrated sight for your LabRadar. So you're never having to fumbling around looking for pins, looking for or trying to use this worthless notch and just miss shots. So that's what we're gonna do. It requires a 5/32 hex that we have right here. Noah, if you'll do us the honors, go ahead and remove that for us. So there we go, folks. That right there, that fastener at 12 o'clock, we have removed that. Now go ahead, Noah, put that on there. Look at that. Fits like a glove. Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead, and it comes with a longer fastener, also a 5/32. All right. So there it is, folks. We now have, anyway, I like the little detail right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll try to zoom in and show you, but we got a little MKM logo in right there. That actually looks pretty good. It's tasteful. But that is super nice. And I really like the fact that this is a nice small sight. It's a little aperture sight. It's not too small to where it's not usable, but I also like that it's long. Again, you'll know exactly where you're aiming at, and your LabRadar will be pointing in the exact right direction. Again, if you've had a LabRadar, you know what it's like. If it's not pointing in the exact direction that it should be, you're missing shots. All right, folks, so there it is. The MKM LabRadar sight, integrated sight. This is just gonna make life a lot easier out on the range. And this, along with all the other accessories I talked about, it's gonna make your LabRadar that much more reliable, more fun to use. Setup, teardown's gonna be easy. And again, you're not gonna be missing shots, which means you're wasting time, which means you're wasting ammo, which means you're wasting money, especially today. Don't you think, Noah? Mm-hmm. Got anything else to add to this?
Not really.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get back to the video. Hopefully you found all these tips and these additional accessories helpful. So I'll let you get back to that other guy. Because this is a great piece of kit, but just like a lot of things, like when you buy a rifle, to make it a complete package. I think there are some additional accessories that you're gonna need to buy to make it as functional and user-friendly as possible. But that right there, that little bit of convenience saves you time and money, and that way we're not wasting ammo downrange and not getting the data that we need. All right, folks, so this is how you assemble this thing. You just need 4 pieces of 24-inch, I believe it's 24-inch PVC, and I'll put that up there along with the correct diameter. And then you just slide those onto each of the legs, and I'm gonna show you how this works and everything else. I also bought end caps for it, and I end up plasti dipping these as well, just because, I don't know, I guess I'm a freaking gear diva. I wouldn't recommend plasti dip though. It's already peeling off. I should have known that. But you know, if you're a gear diva too, and you wanna make yours look pretty, just use some rattle can spray paint. It'll keep it from, you know, this plasti dip just peels off after the first use. It was a waste of time. All right, so this right here is what makes the quad pod magical. You can literally put almost any rifle underneath there, and you want the distance from the gun set in the LabRadar to 18 inches. And if it's set like that, you can pretty much throw any platform underneath there and it's gonna pick up those rounds, which that's one of the biggest problems, is making sure you have the correct offset from that gun that you're shooting. So this takes care of that. All you gotta do is throw the gun underneath it, and I pretty much never miss around with my bolt guns, even when they're suppressed. With this, I leave it on 18 inches. I never have to readjust it or anything like that. So the other problem that you're gonna run into, and if you don't know, what it's waiting for is some sort of trigger mechanism. And the LabRadar turns on through 2 different mechanisms, basically either through sound of the gun going off, and there's multiple sensitivity levels, 1 being the most sensitive, 5 being the least sensitive in this. So it's also a matter of playing with that and figuring out the right sensitivity level. The other problem that you're gonna run into is if you're on a range like this, especially with other shooters, other people's guns are now setting that or triggering it, right? So that's been a real problem. One of the main problems that I've been running into, and why this last kind of purchase and accessory came along, was the fact that even though with all my bolt guns, regardless of caliber, even suppressed, it picks up almost every single round. I would say 99% of them. It's picking up those rounds, I don't have any issues. But for whatever reason, on an AR, it has a hard time picking up those rounds. So I've had some issues with that, and it definitely has an even more difficult time if I have that AR suppressed. All right, so what I ordered to solve that triggering issue is this JKL Precision. This is actually the Gen 2, and this is essentially a recoil trigger mechanism. So all you gotta do is attach this to your gun and just the recoil itself. Now the kit that it comes with, I think it's 35 bucks, but it'll be the best 35 bucks that you ever spend. But basically you get the actual trigger mechanism, and I'm sure there's an accelerometer or something in here, but basically as that gun recoils, it triggers the LiDAR on the LabRadar, and then it picks up your round and only your round, regardless of what's going on around you. And if for some reason it's not picking up on the report of that particular rifle that you have underneath there, it will, even if it's suppressed. So this, game changer in my mind. Between this and the Bog Pod, I think those are pretty much required accessories in my mind, just to make it much more user-friendly and just to save you the time out on the range, right? So what this comes with is the trigger mechanism itself. You get basically a TRS cable, and then you get a couple of pieces of Velcro and then a strap to manage the wires on your cable. Now what I did is, because again, I'm moving this from different platforms, and you do need to place it differently on different platforms, or you may need to place it differently, is I went ahead and ordered the magnetic attachment and then also the Picatinny rail attachment. And these are just 3D printed. When we get over there, I'll kind of show you how these attach to it, and we'll kind of go from there. But super easy. All I do is place this in there, and then I can put this on the pick rail. And that way I'm not putting Velcro on all my different guns. And between these 2 attachments, I can pretty much attach them to any rifle out there. So that way if I'm switching between guns, it's just simple and easy. And you know, we can always get money back, folks. You can't get time back. That's just the reality. All right, so I am gonna show you guys how I'm gonna set this up. And I also I pulled out the batteries on this. I just wanna show you that you can run your entire LabRadar without any batteries. I just kind of keep those in there as a backup and usually take them out so I'm not using them on accident, because if I don't turn that on or something like that. Anyways, so the way that we're gonna set this up, I'm gonna use the pick rail for this particular setup, and I'm just gonna put this pick rail on there. Now you'll see in a second, sometimes when you let the bolt go forward, it will trigger the LabRadar, but the LabRadar will immediately say that it didn't pick up that shot. And it doesn't add that, like, it doesn't mess up your data. It just basically doesn't have that shot. So it's not a big deal. Here again, we have the actual trigger mechanism right here. Real small, real light. And I'm just gonna put that inside that mount. And then we're gonna plug that in. Just like this. And then right here, we're gonna plug that in right there. And then you can manage your cables however you want. And then we're gonna make sure that we have that. Basically, I have the muzzle of this just in front of, it's probably, I don't know, 6 inches in front of that or so, the actual radar. All right, so I'm not gonna go through the entire menu, or this is not a tutorial on the overall LabRadar, but I do wanna show you the settings that you need to change that are relevant to the quad pod and to that trigger system. So we're gonna hit the menu button right here. All right, and you're gonna be on velocity units. You're gonna scroll down to projectile offset. I'm gonna hit that, that's 18 inches. That's what you want, hit check. Then we're gonna go down to trigger source, hit enter or check, and you wanna make sure that that is on trigger, not on Doppler. So we hit that, and that's it. That's all you need to change, folks. And now you have a system that is pretty much gonna pick up every single round. It's not gonna pick up other rounds. You don't have to worry about the offset or change that. The only thing that you need to do is make sure that you have battery power going to this thing and you have it pointed and aimed in the right direction. When I'm shooting an AR-15, especially when I'm doing, trying to get data for ammo comparisons, folks, I can never get 10 shots in a row on this thing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna attempt to shoot 20 rounds through this and see if we get all 20, and we'll see how that goes. All right, folks, I got all 20 rounds. I can't even tell you how awesome that is. Just being able to throw a gun underneath there, making sure this is aimed properly, making sure that, I have the right settings going on in there as far as the right projectile, the right weight, all those things that you do need to worry about. But being able to get underneath there, shoot 20 rounds, and to have the confidence that it's gonna pick up all 20 rounds from an AR, unbelievable. Oh, so the next thing we're gonna do real quick is just test to see if it works with that rifle suppress. So let's check that out. All right, folks, you'll see right here as I let the bolt go forward, we will get an error. All right, folks, so I'm sitting here editing. I talk about what I think is a LabRadar error in a few minutes, but after reviewing the footage, it was clearly a user error, and I want to show you this. And I'm going to show this clip without any cuts or anything like that, so you don't think any funny business is going on. So watch carefully. 10 rounds suppressed. Let's see how we do. All 10.
What is the number? Number of the day is 10. So that's the number.
Well, folks, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. Clearly, counting is not one of mine. Now, what happened there was, again, I had armed the device. I let the bolt go forward. It picked up a round, or it picked up a shot with no velocity data on that. And when I looked up from shooting that 9th round, I saw the round count was 10 on there. And again, the fix to this, because I shot a video right after this and spent a little more time on it, the fix to it is make sure that you let your bolt go forward on a semi-auto gun, then you hit arm, and then you don't run into this issue. But the fact is, the LabRadar did everything. It was 100% accurate on the actual data and muzzle velocity. It picked up every single round that I shot, and then subsequently I shot another video where I shoot 35 more rounds through that LabRadar, and it picked up every single one. I didn't have one missed shot, and folks, that is huge, because in the past, when I'm shooting and testing AR ammunition, I was missing about a third or half, about 50% of the rounds going through that. So it was super frustrating. And for that little $35 device to get us to 100% reliability is pretty darn awesome. And definitely you'll if you're using a LabRadar and you're using that device, it'll pay for itself 10 times over in wasted ammo. So again, I wanted to be as transparent as I possibly could with that, let you know there was no funny business. But even later on, I tell you that, hey, we missed a round, because again, I didn't know what was going on. And to be honest with you, I didn't realize what took place until I watched the footage. So, but that little $35 device getting us to 100% reliability is hard to believe. Anyways, I wanted to share that with you, make sure that you knew I was on the up and up and wasn't doing any funny business with that. And also to make sure that you realize that the actual LabRadar was 100% reliable. It was just a user error on my part. All right, so let's get back to the video. So I was just looking at the data. It did pick up 10 rounds, but actually only picked up 9, just picked up recoil in 1.
Very nice words, but happens to be wrong.
But with that being said, folks, we got 29 out of 30. That is like 1,000% improvement of what it was doing.
Wrong. Wrong.
That is
wrong. And he did the wrong thing.
Compared to how it was before and the way the quad pod is set up, if I was to put my AR in there, I was getting like 4 or 5 shots out of 10. So this is a huge improvement, and I'll take the 29 out of 30. Nothing's gonna be perfect.
We have one more question from Ken Bone. Ken?
Wrong.
All right, folks, if you like content like this, we'd really appreciate it if you like this video, subscribe, obviously, and hit that bell icon. Folks, being a 2A content creator, you know, YouTube is no friend of ours. They crush our reach. So every time that you like, subscribe, and throw a comment down below and hit that bell icon, it helps, compensates for some of the suppression. You gotta stop watching YouTube. They're not a friend of the First Amendment. They're not a friend of the Second Amendment. Go over to Rumble. Folks, we have our channel over there. Go check that out. We're gonna put more of our better content on Rumble anyhow. A lot of the stuff that YouTube won't even allow us to do. A lot of tutorials when it comes to gun maintenance, gun building, things like that. So go over to Rumble, quit watching YouTube. We're gonna continue to stay on YouTube because this is where we gotta be to bring people over. Because the fact of the matter is, if you believe in God and you believe in the right to bear arms, YouTube doesn't want anything to do with you. They're not gonna promote your content. It's just the reality. And just be aware of all the companies out there that are enemies of the Second Amendment. So make sure you go over to Rumble, quit watching YouTube, tell your friends about it. Also, go check out our other social media sites. We do a lot of cool things on there. Make sure you're following us there. And every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, folks, we have our live Dangerous Liberty podcast. We have special guests on all the time. We talk about guns, gear, politics, and because it's live, you get to participate. You get to ask questions, you get to comment, we read those aloud, and you get to be a participant and not just a bystander, and it's a lot of fun. So make sure you join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, live on Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. Well, enough of the self-promotion. Let's get back to the show.
All right, the other accessory I forgot to mention, I think is actually pretty important, extremely useful, and will help protect your investment, is the LabRadar case itself. This is obviously perfectly designed, custom fit for the LabRadar. It is padded all the way around. There's actually very thick padding around the sides. I think this is probably, it's at least ½ inch, if not like 5/8, all around the top, all around the perimeter of the LabRadar. And what I also like about it is the fact that even with that ARCA plate and the MKM sight, it still fits nicely inside there. And there again, you got everything that you need. You do have this interior pocket. I would probably keep additional, notes, data cards, things like that in there. But where I keep all my additional accessories, and what makes this so nice is I can keep everything in kind of one nice protected package, is in here, I have my battery pack, I have my JKL recoil trigger, and then the accessories for that. So we have the different mounting options. So I got everything I need, but it's protected. Again, one of those accessories that doesn't make sense not to purchase. And this bag or case is extremely well constructed. It's heavy duty nylon, like a Cordura material. The zippers are extremely heavy duty, but I do think this is a really good investment because it protects your much more expensive investment. On top of that, it keeps everything organized. It's easy to see that what you got, making sure that you're not leaving, additional accessories, behind somewhere or stuck in another bag. Everything you need is right here. You're good to go. And I think you'll be glad that you purchased that as well.
All right, folks, so those are the accessories and the modifications that you need to make to your LabRadar to get much better results, to make sure that you have more fun, you're not wasting time or ammunition, you're getting the data you need, and just the overall shooting experience is much better instead of leaving the range frustrated. So I don't know what we talked about here. Maybe another $150 worth of accessories that I think is money well spent. So it is what it is. And by the way, links for all those different accessories I'll put down in the description below. If you would like a LabRadar, again, we are a dealer. We'd really appreciate it if you bought through us. And while guns and gear are great, what we're really about is training. So make sure that you guys go to ParamountTactical.com. Go check out our upcoming training schedule. We'd love to have you out. We'd love to meet you in person. We have long range courses, tactical carbine, hanging courses, driving courses, and medical courses. So come out and train with us. I promise you, you'll be glad that you did. And for all of your gear needs, make sure you go to Paramount Tactical. Folks, the only items that we carry are items that we have personally tested and we believe in. We believe that our credibility is tied to every item on our website, and we want you to be able to buy with confidence. So we make sure we test that stuff before. We want to carry the best gear possible. And that's what our reputation is based on. So again, we really appreciate you watching, but until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.